On December 1, Ripple is set to unlock 1 billion XRP. And whether we like it or not, this is one of those moments where the entire crypto market stops to watch. Not because of the number itself, Ripple has been doing this monthly for years, but because of what December represents. It's the final unlock before the year ends, and whenever XRP enters this territory, the rumors, speculation, and behind-the-scenes theories explode like wildfire. Some investors are convinced Ripple is preparing a massive liquidity play. Others think the company knows something the market doesn't, but the truth is far more layered. And today, we're going to break down every angle so you know exactly what's at stake. We're going to look at how these monthly unlocks started, why Ripple continues to do them, and what actually happens to the unlocked XRP. We'll go through the numbers, the history, the patterns, and even the controversies. By the end of this video, you'll understand the strategy behind the December 1 unlock and why many analysts believe this specific release could reveal Ripple's direction for 2026. And if you already feel like Ripple is planning something bigger than they're letting on, then go ahead and hit that like button, because we're about to uncover the kind of details most people never bother to look at. Now let's rewind the clock a little, because the December unlock only makes sense when we understand where the entire system began and why Ripple locked away billions of XRP in the first place. The origin of the 1 billion XRP unlock system, 2017 setup. To understand why Ripple is releasing 1 billion XRP this December, we need to go back to 2017, when the company faced growing pressure from investors who were terrified that Ripple could suddenly dump a massive portion of the supply. At the time, Ripple held more than half of all XRP ever created, around 55 billion tokens, and critics claimed the company was a ticking time bomb. So, in response to the growing distrust, Ripple locked the entire amount into escrow-based smart contracts, each programmed to release 1 billion XRP every month until all escrows were exhausted. This move was designed to reassure the market that Ripple couldn't manipulate supply at will. The escrow wasn't just a technical system, it became a symbol of transparency, something Ripple desperately needed. It showed that the company was trying to establish long-term predictability, even if the market didn't fully trust them yet. The locked XRP was separated into 55 monthly contracts, each unlocking in sequence. December 1, 2025 is simply the next step in a system designed nearly a decade ago, a system Ripple still relies on to shape its liquidity, partnerships, and global expansion strategy. But what makes this December special is the timing. We're at the tail end of the year. XRP is sitting around a crucial resistance level, and Ripple is entering a new phase of institutional growth. With ETFs, global partnerships, and expanding on-demand liquidity corridors, the December unlock isn't happening in a vacuum. It's landing right as Ripple is shifting gears again, and that's why this specific unlock has everyone talking. But before we get into theories, we need to look at how the December release is structured, because the numbers tell their own story. The December 1 unlock breakdown, numbers and wallets. When the December 1 unlock hits, it won't be a simple one-shot release. It's divided into 3 tranches, 200 million XRP, 300 million XRP, and the largest, 500 million XRP. These tranches are released from escrow wallets Ripple created years ago, specifically designed to mature on exact dates. If we check Ripple's on-chain activity, the wallets typically labeled as Ripple 24 and Ripple 25 are the ones holding these December contracts. They've been untouched for years, waiting for December 1, 2025. Now here's where things get interesting. That 1 billion XRP represents roughly 1.75% of XRP's circulating supply, and about 2.61% of what remains locked in escrow. Those numbers may look small, but in a market where sentiment shifts instantly, even predictable supply movements can ignite speculation. And when that speculation arrives in December, right before quarterly reports, year-end financial movements, and major institutional rebalancing, it becomes amplified. Some analysts believe December unlocks are intentionally lined with Ripple's internal liquidity cycles, especially since year-end partnerships and cross-border transaction volumes tend to spike. And while the numbers themselves matter, the real story begins when we look at what Ripple actually does with this unlocked XRP. Because yes, 1 billion sounds massive, but the actual net impact on circulation is far smaller than most people realize. What Ripple actually does with the unlocked XRP. Every time Ripple unlocks a billion XRP, a ritual follows, one that many casual investors don't know about. Instead of sending the entire amount into the market, Ripple typically uses only 200 to 300 million XRP each month. This portion supports the company's operations, primarily its on-demand liquidity network, partner incentives, and institutional sales. These tokens help power transactions, secure new corridors, and expand Ripple's partnerships. The remaining 70 to 80%, sometimes even more, is immediately relocked into new escrow contracts, pushing those tokens years into the future. This relocking is crucial. It means Ripple is maintaining a predictable supply schedule while ensuring it has controlled liquidity for future use. But there's another layer too, and one that fuels controversy. Some traders believe Ripple strategically releases XRP during market strength, using the unlocked portion to secure funding at favorable prices. It's a theory that circulates around the community often, especially when XRP experiences sudden rallies around unlock windows. While there's no official evidence to support this claim, the timing has sparked more than a few debates. And before we go deeper into the market effects, if you want to stay ahead of every major XRP move, every unlock, every on-chain pattern, and every hidden shift Ripple makes, make sure you subscribe right now, because we've got you covered on every angle of the XRP ecosystem, and the next few months are going to be massive. But now let's talk about the part that everyone worries about, market impact. Because whenever 1 billion XRP unlocks, fear isn't far behind.
The market impact everyone worries about, whenever Ripple's monthly unlock comes around, especially a big one like December's, the first reaction we see online is panic. People worry about dilution, sudden price drops, or that Ripple is preparing a large sale. And honestly, the concern isn't unreasonable. The crypto market is fragile, and even the perception of increased supply can spark volatility. XRP has experienced this before. Months where FUD spreads faster than facts, dragging the price down even if Ripple barely releases anything. The truth, however, is more stable than it seems. Because Ripple relocks most of the tokens, the actual increase in circulating supply is usually small, even in months of heightened volatility. Historical patterns show that the net supply change rarely exceeds a few hundred million tokens. When you compare that to daily XRP trading volume, which often reaches billions, the impact becomes much less intimidating. But still, perception shapes reality. If enough traders panic, the unlock can create short-term price dips simply because people expect them. That's why December, specifically, carries more weight. Year-end trading is already emotional. Investors protect their profits, institutional players adjust portfolios, and market makers reposition themselves. Add a 1 billion XRP unlock on top of that, and you get a perfect storm of speculation. And yet, despite all this, Ripple's strategy goes deeper than just monthly liquidity. Because the escrow system isn't a weakness, it's one of Ripple's greatest tools. Ripple didn't create the escrow system just to calm the market. It built it as a long-term liquidity engine, one that feeds into the company's global vision. By controlling the monthly flow of XRP, Ripple can support its expanding cross-border payment network, negotiate with financial partners, and prepare for future market cycles. This predictable supply stream gives Ripple the flexibility to scale without overextending itself. It's almost like having a controlled faucet. Ripple opens it when needed and seals it when the timing isn't right. Some analysts believe Ripple is preparing for a significant expansion in 2026, with ODL corridors opening in regions that weren't feasible a few years ago. This aligns with Ripple's increasing institutional partnerships, which demand reliable, liquid assets like XRP. To fuel these corridors, Ripple needs consistent access to tokens, but not so many that it destabilizes the market. The escrow system gives Ripple exactly that balance. And the December unlock happening right as Ripple gears up for another growth cycle could be a sign that the company is preparing fresh liquidity reserves for the year ahead. But no matter how carefully Ripple manages supply, nothing is perfect. Every financial system carries risk, and this one is no exception.
The risks no one talks about. While Ripple's monthly relocking pattern creates a sense of stability, there's always a risk that the ratio could change. If Ripple ever decides to stop relocking the majority of the monthly unlock, the circulating supply could increase faster than expected, shocking the market. Even a small adjustment in how much Ripple uses instead of relocking could shift sentiment dramatically. Investors monitor Ripple's escrow transactions closely for precisely this reason. There's also the regulatory angle. Even though Ripple has won major battles, the company still operates under watchful eyes. Any sudden shift in escrow behavior could trigger new scrutiny or spark accusations that Ripple is manipulating liquidity. And beyond regulations, there's the psychological risk. Monthly unlocks have created a consistent pattern of FUD cycles, predictable waves of panic that push some traders out of their positions. This repeated emotional stress creates uncertainty, especially among new investors. And all of this brings us to the most important question. With December 1 approaching fast, what should investors actually focus on? What investors should watch for on December 1? The key number to watch isn't 1 billion XRP unlocked. That's predictable. What matters is how much Ripple relocks afterward. If Ripple relocks 700 to 800 million XRP, that signals business as usual, no cause for panic. If they relock less, that suggests Ripple is preparing for larger operations, bigger liquidity requirements, or new institutional deals. Watching the escrow wallets will reveal everything. Another major factor is where the unlocked XRP goes immediately after release. If it's transferred to OTC partners, ODL corridors, or institutional wallets, it means Ripple is scaling its network. If any portion moves toward exchange-linked wallets, however, traders may interpret that as preparation for liquidity injections that could affect price. More importantly, compare the numbers with community sentiment. If there's fear online but the data shows high relocking, that's usually a buying opportunity. If there's hype but Ripple keeps more XRP in circulation, caution is wise. Numbers don't lie, emotions do. And that leads us to the bigger picture, which is why this December unlock matters more than usual.
The bigger picture, why this unlock is more important than usual. December isn't just another month. It's the final major unlock before Ripple enters 2026, a year many analysts expect to be pivotal for the company. With new regulations coming, continued institutional adoption, and the growing influence of tokenized finance, XRP's role in global liquidity might expand rapidly. Some believe Ripple is positioning itself to have the liquidity it needs for a surge in ODL volume as new corridors open. The December unlock also acts as a signal. How Ripple handles these tokens gives us a glimpse into their next moves. If Ripple becomes more conservative with relocking, they may be preparing for significant operations or new strategic partnerships. If they maintain their usual rhythm, it suggests confidence in XRP's market stability heading into the new year. Either way, December's unlock provides one of the clearest windows into Ripple's next chapter. This brings us to the final question. What does all of this mean for XRP investors today? So here's the bottom line. The December 1 unlock is not a crisis, it's a moment of clarity. Ripple's escrow system was built for long-term stability, and for years the company has shown a consistent pattern of using only a fraction of the unlocked supply while relocking the rest. But the significance of this particular unlock lies in its timing. It marks the transition into Ripple's next phase, one potentially filled with new partnerships, expanded global corridors, and a stronger institutional footprint. If Ripple sticks to its established pattern, we should see a smooth relocking process and minimal market disruption. But if anything deviates, if more XRP stays in circulation or moves into strategic wallets, it could be the first signal of Ripple's next major play. And that's something none of us want to miss. So let me ask you, do you believe these monthly unlocks are harmless or part of a much bigger strategy Ripple isn't fully revealing yet? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you believe XRP is gearing up for a major move in 2026, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown.